When you think of classy cocktail, surely you're imagining James Bond lounging about with a shaken margarita in hand, women swooming over the way he raises his glass of elegance to his lips, or Don Draper enjoying his signature old-fashioned after a hard day's work. Fortunately, we're not living in the 60s anymore, so let's talk about the third classy cocktail of the 20th century, the Cosmopolitan. Enjoyed by celebrities such as Madonna and the ladies from Sex and the City, the Cosmopolitan took off quickly as a C&B scene fad in big city landscapes, and according to some, died just as quickly as it began. But becoming the most popular fad that every bartender grew to hate wasn't an overnight ordeal. In fact, the basic build of the Cosmopolitan has links to other popular cocktails that were constructed decades before. In the late 1800s, scurvy was still an issue sailors faced while on the open seas for extended amounts of time. Enter Rose's Lime Cordial, the precursor to Rose's Lime Juice, which became the juice of choice for British warships. Hard to swallow, the juice was mixed with the easiest thing to swallow, alcohol. Thus was the creation of the Gimlet, a simple 2-ingredient cocktail that would become famous of its own accord. The first print of this recipe would come in 1923, half gin alcohol, half lime juice. But with the popularity of vodka rising in the 20th century, the Gimlet would take on a different form altogether. Following World War II, Americans visiting France would discover the popular triple sec Contra and bring it back stateside. The addition of Contra to vodka and lime juice would bring about the creation of another popular cocktail, the Kamikaze. In 1968, Ocean Spray would begin a campaign marketing their juice to adults by including the recipe for the harpoon on the cartons of their juice, a mix of vodka, lime, and cranberry juice. Eventually, the 1980s would come along, and this is where the true origin of the Cosmopolitan as we know it today would be claimed by several different bartenders with conflicting stories. Cheryl Cook was a bartender who started working in Miami in the late 70s and was known as the Martini Queen of South Beach. The story goes she wanted to create a sweeter version of a martini that would appeal to women. She combined lemon-infused vodka, triple sec, Rose's Lime, and cranberry juice, and the Cosmopolitan was created. This story is often disputed as it contradicts with the accounts of other bartenders who claim they created the Cosmopolitan. Around the same time, John Kane was a bartender in Massachusetts who experienced locally sourced cranberries from Provincetown and cocktails that utilized the juices, including a less refined version of what would become the Cosmopolitan. He took his experience to San Francisco in 1987, where he introduced the drink at Julie's Supper Club and quickly became popular within the gay social scene. John Kane himself claims he didn't create the Cosmopolitan, he simply transported it to an area that would grow his popularity. The widely credited and most accepted creator of the modern-day Cosmopolitan was Toby Cicchini. Toby was a bartender at the Odeon in New York and claims a co-worker who had friends from San Francisco introduced him to the version that was making the rounds on the West Coast in 1988. Although he says the drink was disgusting, he liked the way it looked and went about recreating it using the ingredients he had on hand. With margaritas being popular at the time, he used fresh lime juice and Contra, as well as Absolute Citron, a lemon-flavored vodka that was new to the scene. He topped it off with fresh cranberry juice, and the Cosmopolitan as we know today was born. The Cosmopolitan eventually made it to national and international popularity and became one of the trendiest drinks of the 20th century. That popularity eventually died down, and what was once a fad in the 80s became nothing more exciting than a gin and tonic was as the 90s progressed. It wouldn't be until Sex and the City premiered in the late 90s and that drink would explode back onto the scene. You could order the drink anywhere that served alcohol, whether it was an airport bar or a bowling alley. And still to this day, the Cosmopolitan is a drink that every bartender knows how to make.